Heyo, taking a look at example 3A. Note that they've only asked us to write an equation for these next four examples. They have not asked us to make a graph. I strongly encourage you to plot these points, even if you don't do it on grid paper. Getting a picture does a world of good for these problems. If for no other reason, then right now I have 4 points, and trying to look at 4 points is somewhat mind-boggling. I don't know if this thing opens vertically, is it horizontal, where's the center? I don't know. But if you take a second and plot those points, many of the questions that we need in order to write that equation just kind of come down to counting and some basic arithmetic. So taking a look at what's given, I plotted those vertices in blue, I plotted the foci in green, and right away I can tell, oh, well, that transverse axis has to be vertical. The transverse axis goes through the vertices, it goes through the foci, and it also goes through the center. So this is a hyperbola that opens up and down. It is a vertical hyperbola. So no big deal there. The other thing plotting the points allows us to do, instead of distance formula, finding the distance between these 2 points and then cutting it in half, getting the center and therefore those A and B values becomes a nice counting game. To find the distance between the vertices, we can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Beautiful. There are 8 units between those 2 points. The center needs to go in between them. So I'm going to count back the other way. Half of 8 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my center. So right away, having a graph makes finding the center easy, makes finding whether it's horizontal or vertical an easier question. Center here is going to be -3, -2. It can also help us with those A, B, and C values, especially now that I know what my center is. I know that my A, the distance from the center to a vertex, well, that's 4. And I also know C, the distance from the center to the foci. Is one of them. The other one will be 5 as well. So I have some information here. I know that C is 5. I know that A is 4. What I am missing in order to get that equation, I am missing that B value. I have 3 out of the 4 pieces of information I need in order to write an equation. So time to go back to the good old days of geometry. Keep in mind what's really nice about hyperbolas is that Pythagorean theorem is what you expect. A squared plus B squared is going to equal C squared. Let's keep the colors consistent. The reason that we get Pythagorean theorem the way we like it is because the foci are farther away than a vertex for a hyperbola. C is the largest of these 3 values. So it works out the way we want it to. A squared is going to be 16. C squared is going to be 25. Again, we just found A is 4 and C is 5, so squaring both of those is not too bad. Some of you might notice at this point, hey, it's a 3, 4, 5 right triangle. You would be right. Feel free to use that shortcut if you noticed it. Subtracting 16 from both sides gets me that B squared is 9. And a square root gets rid of the square. Goodbye. And we get our B value of 3. So keep in mind, the problem did not ask me to sketch. The sketch has filled its purpose. I was able to find A, H, and K just from the givens. And with a bit of Pythagorean theorem here, I found B. We do not need to go back, draw in asymptotes and that latus rectum and all the other scary vocab words. We have all the information we need. So this hyperbola opened up and down. So I'm going to start with y. It's y minus k quantity squared over a squared minus another difference between the hyperbola and ellipse. Whole thing equals 1. So this is the standard form that we want. Keep in mind, 4 pieces of information we need to fill. We have all 4 of them. We do want to be careful. So our k value for the center, I already forgot it. k value is -2, so y minus a -2 becomes a y plus 2. That's the first thing we want to be careful about. And then the second is that very tempting to just throw a underneath that binomial there and move on. Unfortunately, keep in mind it's a squared. So I have my 4. 4 is not what goes in my standard form. 4 squared is what goes in my standard form. We also have x plus 3. And that will be over b squared. B is the value that we just found. 3 squared will be 9. Whole thing equals 1. And that's all. See you next time.